Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Oh, I don't have my sound on. There we go.
Yes, you do.
I didn't have it on that I could hear. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. The sunshine's finally coming out, so that always makes me happy.
Me too.
Yeah, so you had fun in Vermont, Margaret?
Yeah, it was great. I'm mad winter's ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
Winter is good, but I do really like being warm, so I'm kind of.
Yeah, for the past few days it's been snowing in the morning and then melting in the evening, and it's like, that seems a bit excessive. I mean, March is ending now, you can go away.
Yeah, I had off school on Friday because we had snow. We probably could have gone, but they canceled school, so it's all right. I enjoyed my day off. So how are you guys feeling about where are you overwhelmed at the moment or feeling okay?
I feel like the amount of schoolwork is good, but yeah, I'm just a little sick of doing the same presentation over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you guys feeling about your image quiz that you're taking this week?
I'm feeling pretty prepared for it.
Yeah, same. I'm feeling
Okay.
pretty good.
I probably tonight, if not tonight, tomorrow, I will put the link up to it with the images, and it's like I said, it's 50 questions. It's all multiple choice, so it also shouldn't take you super long because you're just taking answers and going through it, and that hopefully will give us a little bit of a feel for if you need to spend a ton more time studying images or if you're kind of getting the main hang of things on that. We have 2 more chapters to kind of look at in the book. And then we'll be spending the rest of the time really just working on reviewing and making sure you feel like you're ready to go. So also, if as you're anytime during the week, if you're going through things, especially if you're doing the image test, which is pulled from a lot of different time periods and styles, if you feel like there's something, a time period or really anything in general, that you feel like you're still really confused about or would like us to spend more time on, you can shoot me an email and let me know, and I can make sure that we focus on that a little bit more during the review. If you have no specific requests, that's also allowed. But if you have definite things that you want to address more, I would rather make sure we're doing that than me just picking things. And then we will, so it's looking like most of you are taking the AP test on like the 7th or the 8th of May. So what we'll do is actually the week before that, I'm going to give you a practice AP test. So it's pretty much the exact format, length, everything that the actual AP Art History test is. So I wanted to have you take that one just so that you feel a little bit more comfortable with it, and we're going to take it like a week in advance so that if you take it and feel like really unsure about a certain section or a certain style of question or anything like that, that we still have some time to actually address it. So you will have that since I know some of you have taken AP tests before, some of you haven't, but also every subject, the test is formatted slightly differently just to keep you guessing. Have either one of you taken AP tests before?
Nope.
No, it's my first year.
All right, so this will be a brand new experience for you. I mean, it's just another test, is really all that it is. It's mainly probably the length, that 3 hours is kind of a long.
Are there breaks in between?
I would assume that they give you some kind of break, but I think that's somewhat up to the school and how they do that. I feel like you need to go to the bathroom.
My thing is glitching out. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I said I'm not 100% sure. I think it's somewhat up to the school how they do that. I would think that they're probably gonna give you some kind of break to get up and move and actually go to the bathroom, things like that. But it is kind of a long time, which is part of the reason you'll get a little bit of a feel for that during the practice test as well. Even getting a feel for, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take you 3 hours, but it is the whole test is timed. So when it's over, it's over. So kind of like if you've taken the SATs or any of those tests, you have a certain amount of time and you have to get it done in that time. So it's the other reason for the practice test, so that you can get a little bit of more of a feel. I mean, most of the tests I give you are timed, but so that you can get even a little bit more of a feel for pacing yourself. So if you do the practice test and realize you finish and still have 2 hours to go, that might mean maybe you're like a brilliant test taker. It might mean that you need to write a little bit more in the essay portion, as well as on the flip side, if you take it and 3 hours are up and you haven't done an entire section, you got to pick up the pace a little bit. Well, it looks like, I know Hannah emailed me that she wasn't going to be on today, but it looks like maybe it's just the two of you. So I posted up, which I'll switch over so we can look at it together. 2 images of masks that were part of the artworks that you were looking at this week. So I switched it up a little bit this week and didn't give you any specific reading to do. I know the one video, which I have yet to figure out why it's suddenly doing this.
Copyright issues.
Yeah, the first video.
The first playlist.
Yeah, well, the first playlist, I just pulled one specific video from it. It is a whole playlist, but most of the videos aren't really that interesting or helpful, in my personal opinion. So I'm not sure why it's doing that now. It was a little bit of information about Machu Picchu, which is kind of interesting. But decided to switch it up a little bit, so you had to look in your book some to find answers to the questions that I asked you, but you didn't specifically have to read a whole lot. So let me flip over so that we can see the mask. Let me find that screen. I have so many screens open right now. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Now I just hit the wrong button. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I put the questions up there ahead of time just so you could have a little bit of a brainstorm session if you wanted one. So we're gonna talk a little bit about these 2 lovely masks that we have. So the first question that I asked you was to compare how you think the artist actually worked on giving magical qualities to the mask. So some of these answers were actually in your book. So you have 2 options. You can share answers that were in the book, or if you just want to kind of look at these and think about them, what are some things that make them potentially seem magical?
I'd say that that's it doesn't seem natural, so it kind of seems a bit supernatural.
All right,
the
time out.
eagle mask. What?
You hear me? You're like really broken up.
Yeah.
So we can only hear like
I don't know. That's been
every other word. So 2 things that you can try. So one, you can type. The other thing, which I'm going to switch back just for a second so I can see it on my computer to describe it. If you look on the top of your Hangout, do you see the bars? And if you hover it over it, it says adjust bandwidth.
Yeah.
Try and like draft that down a little bit. Sometimes that helps.
All right.
Now I can
Cool.
hear you fine, but when you were just
Good.
talking, we could hear like every other word. All right. So
Sorry about
if
that.
you, that's okay. So if you want to try that again.
Yeah, so the colors, they seem unnatural, so judging from the fact that an elaborate mask like that would usually be used in like a ritual or a dance, it kind of makes you think that, oh, it's supernatural.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Any other ideas?
The other mask looks really scary.
Yeah, I know. I think this one is kind of creepy because it's more realistic.
Realistic.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Your book talks a lot more about this mask than this one, but this one in particular, I think also has more magical qualities to it than this other one. So this top one, some of the kind of cool things that it does is one, they believed that these masks had healing qualities, and so they would use them at rituals and wear them during public performances. So they were actually things that people wore. Um, and this guy up here, actually, which it shows you in your book, it actually opens and closes. So there are like hidden strings inside of it so that while someone was wearing it, it would actually kind of open up into more things, which was sort of magical in and of itself. So how this one functions is kind of magical. I don't know that I particularly agree with this, so you can either agree with me or agree with your book. Is the other thing that they did reference in the book that they felt was sort of a magical quality of this one, which is where I don't really agree, was discussing the exaggeration and the distortion of facial features. So while that's definitely true, I don't think that that necessarily makes it seem magical, in my personal opinion. I think this one is much more magical because of the transformation that it goes through while someone's actually wearing it, and the strings are supposed to be sort of secret, so you don't understand how it's opening and closing, and it kind of comes to life when someone's wearing it. The other part that we're going to talk about, and this is really your opinion and kind of thinking about what you know about these things. So looking at the two different masks, which are both using distortion in some way. So distortion, color, and texture. How do you think that the artist used distortion, color, and texture to just create an overall feel or aesthetic or actually tell a story behind it? So how would you kind of break that down? Did I stump everybody on this? Everyone fell silent. All right, so I'll break the question.
I've already talked, so I'm waiting for someone else to go.
All right. So how about I'll make it one small question. Maybe I overwhelmed you with 30 questions. So let's start by looking at the color. And you can choose whichever mask you're more excited about. And talk about how the artist used color and how the color affects the feeling of the mask. Margaret, you want to answer that one?
Sorry, I'm thinking.
Okay.
I think that the like the one with the eagle kind of thing, it makes it the colors make it look a lot more like vibrant, you know, and to me more like magical than the other one, which is a lot more like dark looking and realistic.
Yeah, the other thing you can always kind of think about too, if you're sort of stuck on something like that, is run through your head how would it change if it was painted green, or how would it change if it was painted yellow? So part of the kind of the bird mask is the artist didn't use realistic colors. So that in of itself is kind of changing how we might view it and how we might look at it. They're kind of intentionally telling us that there's some ownership over what they're actually creating. They're referencing realistic things, but turning them into their own thing. And even kind of looking at this bottom one that we've all kind of said is sort of creepy because of its realistic nature. So how would this one be different? So the color of itself, I mean, there are some shades of blue and green, which is not normally the tone of people's skin. But it feels a little bit more realistic. So how do you think this piece would feel differently or tell a different story if, like, it was bright orange or bright yellow? What would that change?
I don't think, well, it wouldn't look as realistic, obviously. And it would
Right.
wouldn't look as, like, more like, disturbing and stuff, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And so these are things, too, you want to think about. These are all questions to also help you when you're asked to talk about a work of art that maybe you don't necessarily know a ton about, or kind of trying to understand it or asking, making a guess. So part of that is you can also always sort of contrast it, like color affects it because of this, and if it was instead these colors, like it might look sort of circus-like or clown-like if it went into some really bright and vibrant colors, and probably wouldn't be as scary. It might still be a little bit creepy, but probably not as scary. Kind of the dark colors that we're seeing makes it a little bit disturbing.
Yeah, and the greenish tone makes it look kind of dead too. So
yeah, that's a great point. It does look sort of.
It kind of looks like it's decaying.
Zombie.
Yeah. So let's jump to the idea of distortion. So, and you can choose either one of these that you want to talk about. Just start by pointing out what things you think are distorted or exaggerated.
It looks like his nose is a little weird, the bottom one.
Yeah, it does look almost smushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the nostrils are too big.
Yeah.
There's something I was thinking about when I was looking at this one, because you see these kind of like ripple lines on his face?
Yeah.
The way his nose and his mouth are smashed up against these ripple lines, it almost looks like he was just punched.
Yeah.
Which is a war helmet mask. Uh-oh, somebody's dog's coming in.
That's my dog.
Hi, dog.
There might be something kind of with that idea of going to war, like this is what your face looks like when you're actually right within the battle. So what other things do you see that are distorted or exaggerated?
Do you know how, like, under his chin and ears there's like an outline thing? What is that supposed to be? Like,
this down here?
Yeah.
For his head, I guess, because if it's a helmet, then you gotta put it on.
Yeah. So he basically doesn't have a neck, so it looks like his neck just like flooding out. But that is partly because of the fact that it is a helmet. In order for it to go on, if they had made it and actually, tapered it in like our necks work, someone wouldn't be able to put it on. They wouldn't be able to fit their head into it.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit of more functionality, but it does, like, it kind of makes him look like he's really overweight to me. Like he lost his neck.
It makes his cheeks look like really big too.
Yeah. So where do you see distortion in this guy?
Well, the beak and the eye, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like if you open it up, then also the nose is really exaggerated, and like the mouth and the eyes too. So, because like if you open it up, there's a human face, and the human face has been stylistically done to resemble an eagle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. So let's talk about texture. So again, easiest way to start is just by talking about what textures you actually see.
Well, the first one is really smooth, kind of like how I imagine a bird beak would be.
Uh-huh.
The second one is like super rough and cracked and
Looks kind of
whatever else.
ripply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why do you think maybe the artist chose to use those textures?
Smooth texture like a beak for a beak, and rough texture for a rough man.
So when you're looking at these, there are obviously times where the artist decided to use realistic qualities. So like you were saying, normally a bird's beak is smooth, so they stuck to that. So what do you think maybe made them decide when they were going to exaggerate something and kind of take artistic license and do what they wanted to do, as opposed to when they were going to kind of reference more realism? And there's really not a right answer. It's just your thought.
Well, maybe.
Different cultures, so yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. They're from different cultures, so they have different ideas of when to exaggerate and when to not.
Mm-hmm. So if you were transplanting yourself to their culture, which I know is hard, what might have, or even if you want to do on the flip side, if you were making something and you were deciding what to exaggerate, if you were making a mask, a ceremonial ritual mask, what might inspire you to put more emphasis on one thing than another? Because it's kind of what's happening whenever there are distortions happening in these pieces. The distortion itself is creating emphasis. So here the distortion of the eye and the beak is creating emphasis on those parts of the bird. This kind of odd shape is creating some emphasis on the actual size, and we're getting the idea that this is like a giant man. So whenever you're distorting something, you're creating emphasis. So thinking about why might they want to create emphasis.
Okay.
Well, like you were saying, the huge neck makes it look like the guy is huge. So like if you see just the helmet, you think, oh no, this enormous warrior is coming at me. So
Yeah.
you know, it's a war helmet, so it's gotta be more useful.
Yeah, it's gotta be fierce looking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
More,
so that takes, you want your whole army or tribe to look strong and powerful. So you're probably not going to create masks that are like dainty little things that look super friendly. So yeah, that's definitely
more practical.
Yeah. We said I think it has to do with symbolism. Yes, definitely. So they're even telling us about things that are important to them. So obviously the eagle in itself is really important because they chose to make it become part of a mask. And in order to really make the eagle stand out, we have this really big beak. The other thing that happens, because the beak is so big, when it opens up, the beak looks like wings.
Mm-hmm.
So if the beak was in proportion, it also wouldn't be large enough to create this secret hidden space that the face is behind. So some of it, again, is going back to the practicality of the fact that it's a mask and it has to fit on someone's face. But it also does create this, it kind of turns the bird into, instead of the bird's face, almost like a really powerful flying bird.
Mm-hmm. And with the bird mask, it's also it's very ritualistic because it's for sacred rituals. So it doesn't really have to be realistic. It just has to convey the symbol of the eagle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I'm going to pop back over so I can see you. Awesome. Very, very good. These are all just kind of sample things that you might have to think about when you're taking the test. Trying to get you used to having potentially a conversation about something that you really feel like you don't know anything about. The goal is for that not to happen on the test, but it could happen because obviously, as you figured out by now, we basically are going through the whole giant Gardner's textbook, which is a whole lot of information and really challenging to remember all of it to begin with. So some is just getting you more comfortable with speaking like you know what you're talking about, which you actually do know what you're talking about. You know more than you realize. So convincing you that you know more than you realize. So that is really what I wanted you guys to go over today. Are there any questions about what you are doing this week? So Wednesday, you're answering they're all practice short answer questions that are, you'll find all of the answers in chapter 32, so they're not from like random places, and you can find some answers in the videos, so you don't have to sit there and read all the book. You can kind of skim through and find answers, but it's to give you a little bit of practice in the short answer format. So I'm not looking for like paragraphs unless that like you're really inspired to write a paragraph. I don't know. It only needs to be like a sentence or two. It's kind of what a short answer is going for. Then Thursday, you're just studying if you still feel like you need to study. If you don't feel like you need to study, then that's your choice. And then you're taking the image quiz. And Friday, you're continuing on your fabulous image list, which I think we almost have covered everything that you need to cover with that. I know there's so many of those. So that is what you are working on, and I think we have like 6 weeks left. Wow. Crazy. So Margaret, I did email you back, but she asked me if we were still having class after the 7th when you guys take the test. We might have to have like a virtual celebration party. Never as fun when you're not in the same room.
I'll bring the cookies.
Right. We'll have to bring our own favorite snack. So no, we're not. So basically that the week of the 7th, I forget what all the dates are that week. That week is you're not going to have any specific assignments from me. That week on Tuesday, we'll still have the live call, which basically will be I will pop on and answer any questions that you have. So that week is really going to be dedicated to you being able to study. If you're behind on any assignments in this class, you're not getting new assignments that week, so you can get stuff finished that week. The week before that is when I'll give you the practice test. So again, that week is like if you take the practice test and are like, holy smokes, I have no idea what I'm doing, or like I really need extra practice on essays, then I'll give you some extra essays to practice on. And then you take the real deal test, and your summer vacation begins.
All right.
Yeah, so that's how all of that will work. Um, of course, I am not going to vanish off the planet after May 7th. So in the future, if you need recommendation letters for college, if you need help with anything, you still have my email address. I will still respond to you. So or if you just have questions, if you're trying to figure out things about college, or if you're interested in some kind of art career and are stuck, I may or may not have the answer, but you're welcome to at least ask, and I will do my best to be of assistance to you. That's kind of where we are going. And you also have one more break. So like the end of this month, we have a week where you have no assignments. So you should all be good to go. I don't think many of you are that far behind.
All right.
All right?
Okay.
Actually, I have one quick question. For the image test, does that have to be done on Thursday, or could we do it like any day, as long as it's before Sunday?
You can do it. You can do it any day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question. And it really, I think I have it set. I have it set for either 40 or 50 minutes. I can't remember which one. I don't even think it'll really take you that long. And while I know you can like Google it and you can look at your notes, I do want you to try really hard just to like use your brain, because the goal of it is to really help you and help me get some accurate feedback on, yeah, like you're really grasping the concept of the images, you're comfortable with this. I would rather know that now than you go to take the actual test and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. But yes, as long as you have that done by Sunday, you can take it. I'm going to upload the link either tonight or tomorrow morning. So once that's up there, you can go for it whenever it makes you happy.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
All right. Have a fabulous evening, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.